Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, folks? JT here with another Chart Talk Live brought to you by Xtrades. It is Tuesday, January the 27th. Hope you all are doing well. Let me get my screen sharing going there. All right, let's get over to the chat. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. What's up, Navy Plum? What's up, New Trader? Happy you're here. Let me get this out in the chat. Everyone, join us. All right. Let's go. What's up, Ryan? Good to see you. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. All right, let's dig in. Let's get to work. Got lots in front of us. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold here, so apologies if you hear me sniffling, coughing, all that good stuff. Trying to keep it at bay. All right, so what are we seeing here in the markets? ES with a nice bounce from that 68.12 level last week. Continues to push higher, now back above the SMAs and running up into some supply up here overhead on the 4-hour chart. So this is going to be an interesting area to see if bulls can continue to push us today. We do have, again, the supply overhead. We've got NTS flipped here on the 4-hour, showing some resistance. Let's flip it over to the 1-hour so I can show you what that looks like as well. Looking a little bit more positive on this side of things. So again, just remember we do have some confluence up here with this supply zone, and we're running right into it, finding resistance. But above VWAP, things here on the hourly looking overall bullish, but the market is going to need bulls to step in if we want to continue to push higher and get through this. What's up, Noble? Good morning to you as well. What I'd be looking for is a break of about 70.26. If we can get through that, we should be able to get this little bit of a wick that created the rest of this supply zone. And then over that, we clearly open up room. Let me move that over there. We clearly open up room to try to push for new all-time highs on ES here. So hopefully we'll see that play out and the market can continue to rally off of this base that it put in off that 68.12 level. So keep all that in mind as we decide how we want to trade some of these trade plans and how you decide to execute on your own personal trades. All right, gonna get into some trade plan recaps here, and then we'll work on some new trade plan requests this morning. So if you all have any questions or any trade plan or any tickers, sorry, you want me to take a look at while we're here together this morning, please feel free to go ahead and start dropping those in the chat. Good morning to those of you who just joined. What's up, Drew? What's up, Sinister Bull? Sai? Good to see all of you here. All right, so trade plan recaps. We did silver. We did this one last Tuesday. It gave us the break last Thursday, and from there just went absolutely parabolic to the upside, back tested close to PT2 there on that pullback yesterday, but continues to push higher, floating around 111 here pre-market. Not surprised that we saw a bit of a pullback. That was kind of a pretty massive move for any commodity or any precious metals or anything like that to see that. I think we hit what, as high as like 15 or 16% to the upside there just in the day yesterday after breaking above PT3 and just absolutely ripping to the upside there. We do have some fib extensions in place here on silver, 114.25. We ran into that, swept above it. That's what led to that pullback yesterday. We're now coming up to try to retest that level again, this time with a little bit more, what's the right word for that? With a better pace, not quite so overbought, overextending to the upside, just kind of grinding its way up through some of these resistances and riding all of this bullish momentum to the upside here. So silver looking very strong, especially as long as if we can hold, what is that, 108.82. If that holds, I think we'll continue to grind higher and potentially make new all-time highs here on silver. So keep it on watch. Again, precious metals still looking like a solid play to me as we make our way through this week. Coin, we did on last Tuesday's live stream. This one did give us the breakdown all the way to PT2. Now it's trying to flip PT2 to support. Didn't quite make it to PT3. We don't always get all the way to all of our price targets, so that's, not unheard of, but still looking overall bearish, especially if it does break below 213.95 today. I wouldn't be surprised to at the very least see a retest of these lows here. If not, takes us all the way down to that third price target that we haven't quite achieved yet. But overall, coin looking pretty bearish right now, especially as long as it remains under 219.54. I think this one will continue to struggle to push for upside until it can get through that. And then there's another pretty significant test. Key sell pressure here on NTS came down, I should say, lined up perfectly with our put entry here at 224.69. So couple of key resistances there on coin that if it stays below those, I wouldn't be surprised to see us continue to play through some of these downside price targets. So 219.54, and really I'd say an even better, tougher spot's going to be 224.69, but I could certainly see rejections coming from either, excuse me, of those two levels. Amazon running right up to PT2 here. We did this one on last Thursday's live stream. Yesterday it gave us the break above, took us all the way to pretty much PT2 there. I'm sorry, not yesterday, Friday. Pretty much took us all the way to PT2 there. Let me get a little bit of coffee in here. That should help with my voice and my mental acuity there. So last Friday took us all the way up to PT2, running right into PT2 here again this morning. Again, kind of a similar setup to what we were just looking at on coin. Got NTS lining up right there with PT2, so not surprised that we're getting some rejections, finding resistance there where we're showing the key sell pressure on NTS. So Amazon overall playing out for some upside price targets, but I have a feeling getting over PT2 might be tough sledding. We'll see how it plays out today. And then QCOM, last but not least, did this last Thursday. Gave us the break below. Couple of back tests of that put entry level. Both have rejected so far, but hasn't really completed the move down to PT1. So this one's fairly interesting to me, running up against that put entry again here pre-market. So if the markets don't rally or pull back at all, I'd be watching QCOM to also pull back and finally complete this move down to 153.41 and potentially lower if that support doesn't hold. All right, so that does it for our trade plan recaps. Let's get to some new ticker requests here. Sorry, I feel like my throat's just getting worse. Hang on one sec. The more I talk, the worse it gets. All right. So let's see, what were our ticker requests this morning? BAKO or team. Noble, do you have a favorite of those three? I'll try to get at least to one of them, and maybe we can circle back, take a quick look at the others, but I want to try to get some fully planned trade plans in place off of at least one of those. So yeah, they did just have ER today. I agree with you. Let's go with team. All right, team. I was going to say, I know this name, but it's been forever since I've looked at it. Excuse me, I'll try to not do that into the microphone. Team collaboration software. Jira. Okay, yeah. I know team. All right. Yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at this chart clearly. Let's clean this up real quick. Oops, that's what I want. Don't know how many, if any, of those levels we'll even need, but we'll figure that out here in just a moment. All right, let's take a look here, big picture real quick. When in doubt, zoom out. Big support right here, pretty clearly. Yeah, right about there. So nice bounce off weekly support there at 115.41 last week. Coming up on a weekly resistance there. Yeah, sitting right about there. All right, that should do it as far as the weekly chart's concerned. Let's take a look at this. Zoom in a little bit. Yeah, there's something sitting right about there. Yep, here as well. Some interesting bottoms found all right along this range. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, something sitting right about here. Kind of tight up against this weekly level. Not going to have a lot to work with here, I don't think. No. All right, go back and check this back here then. Yeah, I'd say that level's sitting right about there. Could also see, let's find out how. What's up, Alex Yeet? Do I chart crypto? I mean, I can, but uh, I would say as far as crypto goes, kind of outside the wheelhouse of what we would typically do here on these live streams. We want to stay focused on things for the stock and options community because that's really what Xtrades focuses on. We do have a sister server, Crypto Trade. What is it? Crypto Traders? Yeah, cryptotraders.com. Um, that I know has a ton of really solid analysts providing charting and all that on crypto. But yeah, I want to focus on stock options trades because it's kind of what these folks are here for. So if you have any of those, feel free to drop those in the YouTube chat. I appreciate you being here and asking. All right. Let's get this plan sorted out. Team is coming up on some resistance. Here at 143.03. Let's see what this shows us. Yeah, it has some more resistance actually right here pre-market as well. At least that's what it looks like. Let's get this figured out. Where is that level? We're either right above it or right below it. It's close. I think we're right below it. I think it's sitting right here. See what this did on this more recent pullback. Oh, there's some help. Yeah, I think we got something sitting right about there. All right, almost done. Then we'll have a plan here. Sorry, just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I hate to think we've got a bunch more room to a price target and then we run right into some resistance I didn't see. All right. Let's find some levels here. So overall, nice long signal after testing that 115.41. Trying to push up over the 200 SMA here, 333 still overhead. Running into some bearishness here. All right. Could be. We'll see how this plays out. That we wind up breaking that 143.03 and the 333. It's a lot of threes all in one sentence. Level at the same time. Just depends on the timing of when this plays out some. I'd like to see that and see that 333 out of the way on that break of 143.03. So just keep that in mind. 1 hour, 333 SMA. Keep an eye on that for this trade plan as a potential resistance issue. Preferably clears it out again at the same time as getting over that 143.03 level. If it's still overhead on the break of 143.03, just keep your eyes on it. Watch for a rejection, signs of a rejection or resistance. over that, where are we going? That's my last question for myself. I think we're going potentially. Yeah, somewhere right up in this range. Yeah, I'd say right about here. 160.57. So could open up some real upside if it can get over PT2. What am I doing there? That's what I'm doing. Would also more than likely, again, just depends on how the timing and how quickly this moves, but could also wind up breaking that trend at the same time as breaking PT2. If that happens, I definitely think we're going to that 160.57 level. All right, so let's figure out our downside. Where does that start to look attractive, profitable? Want to be ready to play this whichever direction it goes. All right, let's see what kind of help we get here for planning this out. This is a bit of a tricky one around this price range, but I think we're looking for something right about there. Let's see. Yeah, but I think actually, you know what, that level is probably just a little tiny bit higher, right about here. I think the way that I'd want to approach this is use that as a stop. Use a break below this weekly level as an entry. First price target should take us right to about here. Yeah, second target right there. Third target. That just barely came down and tapped. It looks like the real, and that can happen sometimes when you're that zoomed out on the weekly chart. So, but I think that area of support that we just rallied off of would be what I'd be looking for as a third price target. CoreWeave, Amazon, Core. Okay, okay, man. Saw it the first time. What's up, Gorath? Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. All right, so let's get our plan in place here. Whoops, come on, man. Get these fingers working. All right, that looks good. That looks good. Let's clean this up real quick. Come on, man. There we go. All right. That should be easy for folks to see. Oops, actually, I need to copy this link. Here you go. Here comes your team live stream plan. Get that to the YouTubes. There. And then let's get this in Elite Chat so we can post our alerts. Alerts. That's good. We'll give this a week to play out, which will take us to... Nope, not that day. There we go. Cool. All right, we're locked in. So what are we looking for here on team? We are looking for a break over 143.03. Don't forget that 333 SMA here on the 1 hour chart between it and PT1 at 148.12. Over that, we're looking for targets at 153.16 and 160.57 with a stop loss average down at 138.78. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 131.77. That should give us targets at 127.89, 123.80, and ultimately 116.28 with a stop loss average down at 134.94 for that downside trade plan. Those are your team upside and downside plans. Let's go. Let's get it. All right. What's up, Thug Baby Yoda? Good to see you, brother. Good morning to you. That is an aggressive lizard. All right, so we just did team. Market continues to remain in top 5% range. Is it uncommon? No, I don't think that's uncommon. I don't think there's a whole lot of bearish catalysts, at least at the moment. But there's also not, things aren't so rosy and optimistic that we were just going to continue to print new all-time highs either. The market did have a pretty strong run ultimately last year. So, you know, just keep that in mind. We could consolidate and kind of wait for things to redistribute before we make a real push to the upside. All right, Sydney, you got a preference of your 3 tickers that you posted there? Apple, Chris, Tilray, Myrna. Navy Plum wants to take a look at Myrna or Myrnin. Did he leave? No, he's still here. Sydney, Ryan, aka Ryan Brown. All right, let's head to Moderna. This is actually one I've been watching. Ah, there he is. He's typing now. You got a preference, a choice, first pick of the 3 that you mentioned? I think these are all going to be way overhead from COVID. KRYS. All right, we'll try to take a look at that. Let's go ahead and check this out, though, because this is an interesting one. I was actually watching this yesterday. This trend seems to be holding. Moderna looks like it wants to push. Just had some good news on their cancer vaccine. Question is, where are the levels down here? Because most of my charting on Moderna's like when it went on a crazy run during COVID levels. Did just reject an interesting, weekly level. Let's hide these for a sec. Leave that trend there. tell me there's no weekly support or resistance built up in this range? I guess the answer is yeah. Not that we can see at least, so we'll check that on the daily chart. I think there's something there, but hard to see it clearly on the weekly chart. All right. Let's... Interesting. It's also trying to bounce off that prior resistance here. It's a good sign. All right, let's get over to the daily chart. Question is where there's got to be some support and resistance built up in here. It's just kind of really choppy. I think there's something there, but I'm going to keep an eye on this level for just 1 second. Is it just a little bit lower? Well, no, I'm going to leave that where it is. I think we're good there. All right. Not super helpful, at least not at that specific level. Let's see what that looks like. Came just shy of it there. All right. Moderna. That is also an interesting little breakdown level. Yeah. Like that where it is. All right, let's go. Let's figure this out. Is that level a little bit higher? Oh, yeah, actually sitting right there, right in front of me. Come on, let's go faster. All right. Yep, right about here is where I'd be looking for a price target. PT1. Once again, because we're so far zoomed out on that weekly, I think that level's sitting right there. actually. It sits right there. And yeah, third price target right about here. Stop loss, that's our next big question. Yeah, it's sitting right about here. Downside, I'd definitely be watching for a break below this weekly level. That could make a big move down. Close to where we triggered this rally from. Quick flip of resistance to support. Let's see what that looks like, though, through some of these prior moves in this range. Gotta go way back. All right. You know, I would take a different approach to this, actually. Use those both as price targets. Third target, yeah, it takes us down to there, 39.94. All right. Let's get this locked in. Oops. Cool. Shared actually on this one at 48.32. All right. Oh, before I get too far ahead of myself. Oh yeah, nice support there right at our put entry level on NTS. I like that confluence. I didn't even have my indicators on. I just realized. SMAs are in a good spot. Trends to the upside. Yeah, especially if we can get over this, what is that, 48.32. Moderna might make some moves. So keep an eye on this one for sure. All right, let's clean up this chart. It is all over the place. That's old, that's old. What trend is that? That's that trend. That's some old trend. That there. Boom, boom. All right, cool. That's what we want it to look like. So here we go. Here comes your Moderna live stream plan. Get this over in the chat and in Elite. I'm going to keep doing that this morning, aren't I? And let's lock in our template. All right, so what are we looking for here on Moderna? We're looking for a break over 50.02. Could be interesting if it breaks 48.32 even. Um, with price targets at 52.83, 55.32, and 57.63 with a stop loss average down at 48.32. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 46.78. That should bring downside targets at 44.32, 42.50, and 39. Excuse me, 94 with a shared stop loss average down there at 48.32. Those are your Moderna live stream plans. All right, we won't be able to do full plans, but let's take a quick look at some of these other requests. Chris was one of them. What is Chris? Crystal Biotech. Ooh, careful with those biotechs, bro. They can be big winners and quick losers. But overall, this one's trending strongly to the upside. Excuse me. Trending strongly to the upside. Bullish on NT, well, a little bit mixed on NTS, but those moving averages are trending strongly up. Looking still really strong here on NTS. I'd say as long as it's holding, we might have to regular trading hours this one actually. Moves a little weird during those pre-market sessions. And this one's just on print mode, I guess. Let's see what this hourly looks like. Yeah, right about in here. As long as it's holding 274.89, this one looks fairly bullish. Better confirmation for bullishness if it can break back above 283.63. So a couple of levels to watch for you there, Ryan. And then I'd be looking for a retest of these highs, assuming these hold, or assuming 274.89 holds, 283.63 breaks. I'd be looking for a retest of where these highs were around 294.92. So a couple levels to watch. I'll drop this image in the chat for you just so you have a chance for it. Okay, we did Moderna team, UEC, couple people asking about that. Let's take a quick look. Looks like it's starting to roll over a little bit. SMAs are still bullish though, pushing to the upside. Here's a level pretty close to where it tried to bounce from yesterday. Could be a little bit of a demand zone even. Let's see. Let's take a look at that. No, it hasn't hit. Well, I take that back. Yeah, there could. It's a little iffy, but there could be a demand zone right about here that we're starting to run into. It also gives you a nice bottom right around 1768 that I'd be watching for support buy potentially. Down just a little bit more. Nah, I didn't really move that, did I? Yeah, call it 1767, 1768, whatever. Somewhere in that neck of the woods. Looks like it could be a good dip buy if it continues to pull back to that, based on what I'm seeing here. This does have a little bit of resistance overhead at 1846. for some reason it doesn't pull back to 1767, but can give us a good break over 1846, I think that opens up this potential area of upside. Is this all-time highs for this? I'm guessing the answer is yes. Yeah. So yeah, I'd be looking for a retest of all-time highs. Either, well, I'd be looking for 1846 off of 1767, or if we get a break back above that, a test of those highs, I'd probably be looking somewhere. I wouldn't get too focused on those sweeps there above. We've got a lot of interesting touches, candle opens, closes, and wicks all around 1993. It's about what I'd be looking for as far as a price target goes. So there's a quick take on UEC. Not a full plan, but just a quick take. Oh, thank you, Ryan. That's very nice and thoughtful of you to say. I appreciate it. Yeah, she's doing all right. A couple more surgeries left. That's what happens when you're old and break a bone. All right. With that being said, we're getting pretty close to market open. I do need to go get the SPY plan put together for today, so I'm going to go get to work on that. I want to thank you all so much for joining me this morning. I do appreciate it so much. We will be back Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully I will sound better and feel better than I do right now. So please take some time, come back Thursday morning. We'll see you guys in the chats. In the meantime, as we always say here on Chart Talk Live, remember to always plan your trades, trade your plans. Also, don't forget we're looking for profits, not perfection. So keep those wins big, keep those losses small, continue to grow those accounts. Feel free to DM with any questions you have in the meantime. Otherwise, I will see you all back here Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, take care. Have a fantastic day.